Welcome back to the show, Colynn. I'm so excited to talk to you today because we are also running a free challenge next week on build your own free offer or your lead magnet to help get people onto your email list and grow your email list and grow your business ultimately. So we thought we would talk a little bit about why your free offer is really important and what makes a good free offer and where teachers tend to get stuck and a little bit of the deeper benefits. And then if anyone feels like they need help building their offer and they would like to do it in community setting, then we are running the challenge next week on November 26th to 28th. It's a free challenge, so everyone's welcome, and you're going to be covering a little bit of your magic around it, and then I've got some tech tutorials and some AI to really help you take action. So we want you to be able to actually build your offer and have something that's going to align with your people rather than just sort of thinking of something that you think might be a good idea and then you put all this work in and it absolutely flops, which I have definitely done in the past. So we can talk a little bit about that today. So there'll be a link in the show notes for that if that sounds like something you want to come and join us with. And yeah, thank you. Anything you wanted to add on that?
Oh, just thank you for having me back again, Adrian. I really appreciate it and love you and your audience. So, yeah.
Thank you. I love you too. It's always an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you. And I feel like we probably should record more of our conversations for people as well. Definitely not all of them, but definitely more. So let's start with, for anyone listening who maybe doesn't have some like a free offer, what is it? What are they missing out on by not implementing this in their business?
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, first of all, it's the turn of the market for sure. Up until now, the market has been more based on like charging. We've talked about this lots, charging like extraordinary prices and then getting people into like not just a funnel, but to purchase a program, dive in. And then if you don't have success, then kind of like gaslighting clients like, oh, well, you didn't put in enough energy. It's your fault. It's not mine. And I think that we're burnt out of it. And so on top of it, we're in a saturated market. For a very long time, it's been like, oh, it's not saturated, and oh, it doesn't matter, and oh, collaboration over competition. But reality is, in a room of people, if you ask who's 200-hour trained, a majority of people will put their hands up now, which is amazing. Not everyone is necessarily practicing, but a lot of people have done training. So it is a very saturated market, and therefore the options are endless. So, how do you know who to work with? Well, we can solve that by offering free and then a little chunk of what it is that we do so that people can get value for free to help solve kind of like a problem or share a practice or give a little piece of coaching, like whatever it is that you're offering, what your client is looking for, you give them a little piece of it so that they can then kind of like test you out without having to spend thousands of dollars to see if you really can help or support on their journey.
Mm. Yeah, and I think the key that you mentioned there is like it's a little piece, so it leads into your bigger offers so they understand it. So you don't have to be teaching for free constantly or giving away everything that you do, but people need to understand you and know what you're about and know if they resonate with you. And then it should be something where they're like, oh, that was amazing. I want to like jump into whatever the next paid step is that you have. So it should naturally lead in to the next step, which is something I think people don't quite get that alignment right sometimes. Can
Yes.
you share like a real example maybe of one of your students that you've worked with where adding a free offer into their business like really sort of changed the trajectory of it?
Yeah, I mean, what comes up, not just like one of my students, but like one of my mentors. I've worked a lot with Tony Robbins, and you can go online and find literally like a whole program with him online in different videos, let's just say on YouTube. And yet, when you go to a conference or a seminar, it's full. So what you see is like a little piece of what he offers, but the reality for someone to buy is that they get to experience it. So same for, groups of people that I'm often working with in like kick-ass yogapreneurs or some business program for offering, let's say I have someone who's a registered massage therapist. So how does she get out there? How does she get more clients? And so what I'm working on with her is like more of an experience. So she doesn't have a lot of clients right now. She's finished and now she's just moving into the business aspect of things. So she needs to get out there. So one of the things that we're looking at like is multiple areas of her business as she doesn't want to just be rooted in one place. How is a registered massage therapist not rooted? How can she create a following online? So it's multi-layered and it's in steps as we look forward, towards the eventual goal of the business. But really what we're looking at right now is for her to go to companies and offer free massages for the day for participants, let's say at office jobs. And she gives them a free massage. So 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that looks like, focused on the shoulders, and then leaves a business card with a YouTube link to yoga for office workers. So now what she's done is she's opened up, first of all, the experiential practice of what it's like to get a massage with her. She has had the opportunity to lay her hands on clients, get to know the clients, talk to them for 10 minutes, create an offering around that, what it looks like for her mobile business to go to either offices or someone's home. And then there's the added layer of still being in one's life, even if they can't access her in person. So 10-minute yoga for office workers video that is free and accessible, and then maybe leads into another funnel. So I know that was like multi-layered, but that's what I'm working on with one client so that she can just start to get out there. In the beginning, we're not worrying so much about making money. It's more about just getting out there. But if you can follow each of the funnels, they come to building a sustainable business for her future, not just in person, but also online.
That's clever because then she like, if they can't always have a massage, but then they're like, "Oh, I do that yoga," but they know that she's done the massage, so then they'll think about it every time they're doing the yoga with her, and it's like, "Oh, I must book another massage appointment." I like that. And also, I thought it was good that you pointed out the Tony Robbins perspective because it's just like that little piece, and then if you're offering in person or even like online things where they actually get to talk to you or have like you as an experience, that's what they're looking for, not just like the recorded version of you, I guess. So that's the bit that they'll be excited about because a lot of us are building personal brands.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. It it's really a way for someone to experience you. Like, same
Mhm.
thing, I always offer a free call. I offer a free call, like, whether you know me or not, whether I offer one for each training. I offer one for each retreat. Like, there's that consistent way to get in touch with me with no cost that can support, like, and also it's not a sales call. Because I remember back in the day, if it was ever like, there was never pricing on the website, and it was always like, book a call to see if this is right for you. And then it's like this high pressure sales call that was really just manipulating and pressure to just pay $8,000 for, a 30-day program
Mm.
that it just stopped calling because it was like, I have panic attacks. It'd be hard to say no because they're like, you gaslighting me or deflecting my answers to use it against me to tell me why I need this program. It's not helpful. So if someone gets to experience me and then they want to know what it's like to work with me, we can have that conversation. But first and foremost, I always want to provide value so that I think about when I was a nurse and it was like, they'll never remember what you did. They'll never remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And so I keep that as like a governance for me, and coaching and yoga is that like, someone when they think of me, I want them to remember me like not
Yeah. Yeah, and that type of selling doesn't really align with most of us anyway in terms of like our yogic values and everything. And do you really want to work with people that are like scared of you? That's why they're working with you. Or they just have this pressure of like this wasn't right for me the whole time. We want to like our mission for I'm gonna assume everyone listening, definitely I know ourselves, is to like lift people up. So you want to make sure that you're like having a good relationship with people.
For sure.
So now you've talked about it a little bit with the layers. We're talking about sales funnels. And I know that can be a bit like for people sometimes. Can you walk us through just like a very basic sales funnel for someone that is just getting started and how lead magnets will fit into that sale?
Yes,
No.
totally. And I even like created a sales funnel that takes from the general that I think is out there and makes it a little more of a yogi perspective. I want you to think about a funnel, right? But then the funnel also kind of comes out, like even just one that you would use to fill your car with oil. So it's very broad, open, and that's where we're kind of like collecting our community, right? Those are leads are going into the funnel or into the community. And so I think that's a problem that most people have or yoga teachers nowadays is in a saturated market. There's, so many clients out there, but what makes you stand out from all the other yoga teachers? So it's really about how are you collecting leads, if you want to call them that, or clients to come in and join a community, and then from that community offering value, and so that it's not like so that you have a bunch of people that want to buy from you. Not the way I look at it. What it is a community that I can make an impact, on or towards, for when that person is ready to purchase, that they think of me. So I'm hoping to provide value whether somebody pays me or not, based on the knowledge that has been imparted upon me from my research, from my mentors, et cetera, who do the exact same thing. And then if you want to dive deeper and you're ready to purchase something, let's say a mala or a yoga teacher training, or even you need some YACEPs, continuing education for your 30 hours for the next 3 years, that you would think of, well, Colynn has a yin teacher training that I was looking towards doing. So why don't I just do it with her? Because I already know her, I already like her, I already trust what she says, as opposed to probably 78,000 other teachers that have their own 50-hour yin program. So that's kind of the idea. So you collect everyone kind of in the top of the funnel. And from that, statistically speaking, 20% of your community will want to purchase from you. And so I like to think about the funnel coming out not just of like one single client, but that one single client has multiple opportunities to buy from you as well, more things. So you have a multiple stream of income instead of just one. So again, like I was saying, someone comes through and they want to do 200-hour teacher training. Great, I've got that. Also, I learned about malas in the teacher training. Great, I've got that. Also, now I need to increase my continuing ed hours. Great, I've got that. So this one client can buy multiple times from me and then stay in my funnel as well, because I don't just like leave her be. I still offer free Zoom every week, or, yoga classes every week, or whatever that would keep her in the community and help her to realize she doesn't need to be there just by purchasing. Does that make sense? I don't even know if I made it easier or more complicated.
I think you explained the funnel but well. I'll say the one and it's sort of the more like techie aspect from my
Yes.
that I think we skipped
Yeah.
there was that the lead magnet is the bit that gets people into the community. So before the community, you've got traffic. You've just got like everyone out there and you need to kind of pull this traffic and encourage that traffic to get them into the community to then keep going through the funnel. So that's where our lead magnet fits in. It's part of like here's what I am, here is what I do. It's very specific, so it stands out, so people know that they want to work with you, and then that gets them into the community, and then you can nurture them from there in your email list, and then hopefully at some point they'll buy. It might not be instantly, like you said, it might take them 2 years. I know people that have been on someone's email list for like 2 years. I had one client, she had people on there before they joined her membership. So it can take a while. I think one of the big issues that people get stuck on is that very top of the funnel part sometimes, and getting enough people in and focusing on the traffic, because that can be a lot of work and overwhelming in terms of social media, in terms of finding your thing. I don't think you have to do everything under the sun, but you have to find something that works for you, that gets you out there, that you can keep up consistently, because that's the thing, is consistency and resilience. We've talked about that before. Like, resilience is a huge part of business. So getting people in, sharing the lead magnet so you can then get them into your email list from the like techie side of stuff, and then your email list can be part of the community that Colynn was talking about, and then you can, they'll be like, oh yeah, she's got all of these things, because now they know you.
Right.
But if you leave them on your social media page, you could lose that at any time. Firstly, like, we've had that happen. Meta goes down, there goes your business. I've
Yep.
heard of people, I can't like find the example anymore, but I remember years ago when Facebook was like the big thing, and Facebook groups were the big thing, and Facebook pages, and then they just changed the algorithm overnight, and there were like people running six-figure businesses basically out of their Facebook group or out of their Facebook page, and suddenly their posts weren't getting shown to anyone anymore. And instead of it just showing in their feed, and they basically much lost their entire business overnight because they didn't have a direct connection with the people in their group. So I think the important thing of the lead magnet is it's getting people onto your email list, and from your email list, you own it. There are like algorithms with emails, but it's not as dramatic as like social media. They're not going to suddenly like block you or stuff. Like, if you do spammy things, you might end up in the spam, but your emails will still get out there. And then you just have more of a connection with those people if something were to happen and you were to like lose the social media, or the algorithms change, or like so many things can happen from there. And I have an episode all about it, but statistically, there's a higher purchase rate from emails as well than from social media. So I
Yeah,
think
totally. You
that's,
have this like collect, nurture, sell, right?
yeah.
That is basic of the funnel. And I mean, it's still throughout all the years, email has been the leading source of nurturing to selling, because it's important what we're putting out there. And it's crazy right now. I know that back in the day when I was doing ads as like a main way to increase my following, there was something like 14,000 impressions before someone would click the follow button. So that was when you go, if you go on Facebook still, when you go on, you've got all these little things happening up in the upper right corner, and then you've got little ads happening in your scroll, and then you've got, when you open up your stories, then you've got little ads, thrown into the stories. And so just someone seeing my brand visual, like my logo, 14,000 times before they're going to click. And then I remember it going further into Google and like the websites that sell little spaces for you to advertise on. So it was like you're trying to see how you can hit that 14,000 impressions with someone as quickly as possible. So let's imagine, yes, ads, but also organic growth. It costs less, takes a little bit of time, but still aiming for those 14,000 impressions before someone is probably going to give you an email address to be added to your nurture sequence.
Mhm. One thing that I've been thinking about recently is that we keep getting these messages from a lot of people. There's a lot of coaches that are like, you don't need a big Instagram, you don't need to do all of this, you don't need to do this to make a profitable business. And yes, I'm sure there are perfect examples of that. And I think being very niche is obviously going to help you with that, because who are you comparing yourself with? Like, you're not going to be comparing yourself with someone that's like, I don't know, Mind Body Green or something, like the resources they have. It's not a good example because that wasn't a personal page, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not comparing yourself to someone that suits a broader audience and has already grown to that audience, because there might not be 4 million people that need your specific help because you're getting very niche. So we don't have to be massive, but I reckon this messaging has not been that helpful for me anyway, because then you're like, oh, I don't need to grow massively to do it. But ultimately, you do. Like, it's one thing that's just I've been realizing a lot lately is like, you need to be out there, and the more people that you can get in front of, more powerful it is, because realistically, 1% of people, 2% of people on your list are actually going to buy. Realistically, those are standard numbers. If you've got a really good community and you get really good at like connecting with them, for sure you can get that higher. But when people are talking about good numbers of like good sales, it's like 10%, 20% if you're really good at your email marketing and sales. Do you have thoughts on that? Because I feel like it's not the best messaging, and it holds people back from probably putting their all into something, because it's like the messages, but I don't need to show up this way. This was kind of completely off topic with the things
But it's a good one because to me it talks about a couple things. Number one, it's brand messaging. So it's like hitting a pain point, and then I can solve that pain point for you. Because now that many people believe they need to get in front of more people, and they're only getting 200 views on their reels, then they're not going to work with someone who's talking about a million views. They're going to go to this coach or whoever that's saying you don't need a big audience. So it's a lead magnet in itself, right?
Yeah.
So say small audience, and I'll send you my PDF on how to get in front of more people. And remember, we talked about this before as well, is that people really only start to sell things when it's not working anymore. So, back in the day, my audience is growing, and my audience was quite small. I mean, I think it took me quite a while to hit 1,500 people for followers on Instagram, and I was still had no problem bringing between 20 and $50,000 a month off of that following. And that's just not my current experience any longer. And I have, as of today, 5,555 followers, which is kind of cool to be able to drop that in this moment. And I definitely have to work harder to get views and to get in front of people and to like get my messaging across. So I think, based once again on that saturated market, that there's just so many people offering so many things that first of all, we have to get clearer on our messaging. And that's just what I think people are doing when they're saying you don't need a big audience. They're pulling in people with a smaller audience.
Mm, that
And
makes
it
sense.
doesn't mean that they're actually going to make that. I don't know. Because it used to be true for me. It's not anymore. So my experience is not that, but maybe they have some secret formula that will cost $2,000 or start at $17 and then have an upsell, right? It's just a perfect example of what we're talking about here that's maybe drawn some people in. And then on the other end, is there success or not? I don't know because I didn't
Mhm.
buy the.
Yeah, I don't know either, because I didn't buy the program either. But I think, yeah, it taps into that. Oh, but probably part of that belief that I can't be that big. Like, I'll never
Right.
be that successful. I
Yes.
can't create content every day. How
Right.
much, because you talked about turning up into your community and offering this free value, how much work realistically do you think someone needs to put in to show up enough that you are actually making progress and you are going to be the person that people are thinking about. And it's not just oh, I show up sometimes and things aren't working, because that can be an easy excuse that we can jump into.
Right. I know that based on past history, a smaller audience is usually a more loyal audience. A lot of people that were following me in the beginning were more loyal and were watching everything that I was putting out, et cetera, et cetera. Now I have my foot in many different cauldrons or pots or whatever that looks like. And that's something that I encourage people not to do, because having one community and putting all of my energy into that is going to profit or benefit me and my business a lot better than having my hand in several different pots, because then my energy is kind of all over the place. So it's not necessarily as much about how much time to put into a community, but I think it's more consistency, the resilience we were talking about, and the focus on one thing, not several, because there's several communities I'm showing up in based on the different schools that I work with, where they want me to promote things that they're promoting for me. And then I have my own business where I'm promoting my own stuff, but then I've got a retreat, but then I've got this, but then I've got that. And the messaging gets a lot more confusing than if I have an app and I'm pushing everybody towards my app. And then the app opens up the funnel to, let's say, a mala or a teacher training or something else like that. So, time wise, I don't think that there's anything other than consistency that makes a difference. Like, really just showing up, maybe daily in your community instead of being spread all over the place, trying to be on TikTok and social media and email and blog and have a podcast and this and that and teach and retreat, and that's a lot. So it's about taking all of this chaotic energy and starting to funnel and focus it in a way that's very directed, and having one thing to focus people to, that then will open them up into a greater like purchasing opportunity.
Hmm. That makes sense. So you can still kind of have a lot of the things, because for a lot of yoga teachers, that is the way we have to make money. We have to have retreats and we have to have some kind of course, and we do our classes as well. And classes are often for the joy of classes more so these days than the actual like income. But that we use our lead magnet as the one key thing that kind of fits in with all of those bigger things, and that is our focus of sharing every time, and that's the one thing we're driving people to.
Yes.
That
Yes,
makes
that
sense.
then opens them after to the landscape of all the other offerings. But
Mhm.
something that works for you the best is usually very helpful to focus on, like, to create your niche or niche in the US. And then from that space and that understanding, knowing who your target audience is, and then creating like, figuring out their pain points, and then creating a free offering that helps to solve or soften, or something gives them a little piece of an answer about their pain points, solving it, feeling better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also have my hands in too many pots. And so I can attest to, if I had the option of picking one pot, which I've started, all Matt's taken. So now I have
Yep.
my own yoga business and this one. They don't really align. It would be so much easier and I would be making so much more progress if I had the one thing. And I recognize that my ADHD brain is like, no, you have to do a million things all the
Yes.
time. But trying to focus that would make a lot of difference.
There's also, like, an old school belief. I read the book E Squared by Pritchard, I can't remember, but the book's E Squared, and they talk about the idea that we think we do this thing and it makes money, so then naturally we do more of that thing, we put more time into that thing, and it will make us more money, but that's not always the truth. It's more about quality over quantity. And I think that we, as yoga teachers, have hustled for so long in offering 80,000 different things to make a decent living, because teaching a yoga class, teaching 20 yoga classes a week brings in $1,000. So I have to have all these other offerings in order to bring in a decent income is old school. And there is a way that we keep some of these key offerings, but we bring it into a more focused energy that kind of like calms everything, puts people in that spot to nurture. And then we offer all the things. Like if you want nervous system discharge as a focus, that can still be a yoga class. That can still be a somatic yoga program. That can still be your app. That can still be your teacher training. That can still be your retreat. But the focus is nervous system discharge as opposed to all those other things. And that's what's going to bring people in. And then we nurture them from there. And then also you could attend my retreat, which is going to just help your nervous system discharge even more.
Mhm. Yeah, I think a problem a lot of people do is that they have too many different types. Like they're maybe teaching like power vinyasa for like early mornings, and then they're teaching kids yoga, and then they're teaching like, I don't know, nutrition, and then they're teaching something else, and they doesn't really have that consistent tie between them all. And then that's where you fall into the trap of potentially being in the oversaturated market rather than becoming like a niche market because you were just offering everything under the sun.
You just said it. There's nothing that stands out in that person now. Like it worked for so long, it just doesn't work anymore because you're like everybody else.
Mhm.
So now people need to know, like, well, why would I come to your yoga class? This was like something that I was personally coached by Tony Robbins, and he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a yoga teacher. He's like, great. It was a room of 5,000 people. He said, who in here teaches yoga? I'm not joking. We're talking like billionaires are there. And more than half of the room put up their hand. And he's like, okay, cool. So you see, so there's about 3,000 people in this room that teach yoga. So how am I going to come to you? And I'm like, well, once you've come to me, you'll come again. And he's like, great. And how am I going to come to you? Like, what makes you stand out from all these other teachers? And I said, well, I teach teachers. And so then he said, who else teaches teachers? I was 1 in 5 instead of 1 in 3,000 with that differentiation right there at the time. I would say that there's they're probably still the
Probably
same
not the
amount of people.
same.
You know what I mean? So now it just becomes about being more and more niche and more specific about what you're offering, but not being so inclusive that you're exclusive and you only speak to 3 people in the world.
How do we know we get to that point though? How do we know we're too niche?
That has a lot to do with market research, right? We have a lot of tools and opportunities to put stuff out there, see what works, see what doesn't work. We can play with like who's coming to us, what are we seeing a lot of. There is, and we do get into it in the 3-day challenge about like how you can start to create your niche based on what you're offering, what you've done in your past, what you're educated in, and how to bring that all together. And then like from there, we dive even deeper into recognizing, okay, someone who is here, what are they struggling with? Because the next piece is, unfortunately, pain points get, the negative hooks get more attention than the positive hooks. And so it's not from a place of like fear marketing, but it's more of a place of like, hey, she's gone through or is going through the same thing that I am. Instead of, oh, look at this positive, everything's amazing person. Like, do you struggle with confidence? Yeah, everybody struggles with confidence, like swipe on by. But is it like, do you have ADHD and have difficulty like putting content out because everything seems so amazing? Like, which one has captured your attention? Probably the second one. So we want to be the second one, not the first. I used to struggle with confidence. Now I am great. To
Yeah.
take my program.
Yeah, and we do get into more market research stuff. You have your side of things from all your business experience, and then I have some fun AI things that we can do that is really going to turn like 30 plus hours of market research into 20 minutes, 30
Yeah.
minutes, and have a really good understanding of who you are wanting to talk to. And then, of course, there's still going to be testing after that. Like you might make your freebie and it lands, or maybe it doesn't land and you have to go back to the drawing table, but at least you have the formula of how to do this. And we are going to be looking, you'll have a better chance following these processes of making something that is going to land than just thinking of something and being like, I'll try it, because we have like built in testing before you launch it through market research and knowing actually this is something people are struggling with. This is what they're talking about. This is a solution. And maybe you have to
Right.
tweak your solution because maybe you didn't quite land it at the start, but or maybe the messaging around it wasn't quite there, but you have like a good place to begin with rather than starting from scratch, I think.
Yes. I know one of my coaches talks a lot about the fact that, like, because he's like a social media expert, and he talks about the fact that, oh, wow, you created a reel, you thought it was going to do good, you only got 200 views. When and it seems a little harsh, but he says, if you had that attitude when you were learning to walk, you'd still be slithering on the floor. Like, really, where did that like resilience, where did that relentlessness go now that you're in front of a camera doing Instagram reels? Like, you just keep putting it out there. If you've got a good idea, you know the pinpoint, you know the answer to it, is just getting the message out to the audience. And that means say it again. Okay, try it this way. Okay, say it again. And one of them's going to hit because you continue to focus on the answer, on supporting people, on getting your message out there. And once it hits, now keep doing that. Just create something a little bit different, but do the same thing over and over and over again based on algorithms, et cetera, that your content is really like 1 in 5 followers see your content. So that means essentially looking at a formula, which we can look at in the 3-day challenge, is like you need to put a post out something like 35 times before each one of your followers is going to see it. So don't worry about using your material too much.
Yeah, I think that's important because it can be easy to be like, "Oh, but I posted about this 3 days ago. I can't say that again." People will get bored, but I think it takes like it used to be people would say people need to see something 7 times before they'll buy it. Someone was telling me that's more like 21 times now or something before they'll buy it. So get comfortable with repeating yourself. You are a big fan of like nervous system control and balance and regulation. How does having your lead magnet help in terms of regulating your nervous system as business owner?
Yeah, well, it's a couple things. It really helps to help regulate your nervous system first, because if you're coming from a dysregulated nervous system and creating content from there, unfortunately, think about like laws of the universe. You get back what you put out. So if you're putting out information from a place of like lack and panic and fear, then you're probably going to call in clients in that same space. So it is important that we practice what we preach and do what we can to regulate our nervous system before creating our free offer. And how it helps to keep us regulated is the fact that, like, each time that we create something, what we're starting to do is create a whole library of offerings. So, okay, great. We're doing a 3-day challenge. So we put it out there and we have some people come. But this is now the foundation to creating more challenges. We've made emails, like we've done all the groundwork we need to do to put out a challenge. So next time, we don't have to do, we can clone and then just change. So it still takes work, but not as much work. And then we will have this program, this course that we can share with clients like forever. So if someone comes in that I meet in a year, I'll be like, and they're saying, I don't know what to put out there. Here, I'll gift you a 3-day challenge where at the end you can put out your free offer. There's all the lessons. I don't have to take our time together to show you that because we've already got that. And that's something like that starts to create this library every time I make a free offering. It supports if I'm having a sales call and somebody wants to know a little bit more, then I can share, this or this or this. And I have so many things that support now that when I'm on a conversation with someone or I'm doing a teacher training and people are looking for more, it's like, oh, I've got a video on that. Oh, I've got a YouTube on that. Oh, here's a PDF on that. Oh, here's a PDF on that. So what it does is it gives me more to draw on to share with my current audience, my growing audience. And it also does a lot of the groundwork so that I don't have to keep being in a place of like, I've got to get this free resource done and then making it like really complicated and difficult. So it helps in the long run because we have a lot to draw from based on the work that we do now.
Mm. And you don't have to repeat yourself all the time. If that's the like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm worried about repeating myself constantly," you can do it one time and then just keep referencing to that. One thought I had on what you were saying just before about, like, practicing to just saying things in different ways, that reminds me of the book I'm reading at the moment, which is From Zero to 100 Million. I'll put a link in the
Oh,
show notes.
yeah.
And basically that's he breaks it down into different business stages. So your first stage is 0 to $1 million and the problems they face. And the problems you face at the start is selling and learning how to sell and learning what your unique aspect is and learning how to say it. So if you feel uncomfortable with like money stuff and asking for an actual sale, then practicing with your free offer could be, I can see it being a great help on just learning those like sales skills in terms of talking about your offer and talking about it in different ways and seeing what lands with people. And you know that it's like free value that you are giving away, so it sort of removes that money bit that you still have to work on, but it's not as it's not looming over you with nerves while you're like practicing this the repetition
Repetitive.
repetitive, thank you,
Yes.
process of just like practicing and getting those reps in basically as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
On top of that, I think about one of the coaches I worked with, and he talked about like instead of waiting till everything's done and then putting it out there and having like this price point, you don't know the value of what you're offering if you're just beginning. So what he says is in the beginning, offer it for free, but it's like for free monetarily, but energy is exchange is in exchange for testimonials, etc. So
Mm,
when you're launching something that as people are coming in and let's say they're asking a question or there's a glitch in the software, you forgot to upload something or link this or link that, you're actually working through making the program 10 times better, but not worrying about your customers being completely unhappy within it because you're working it all out in exchange for a testimonial. And so people that aren't paying can usually be a little more gracious with the fact that said this link in the video and then you never added it. Whereas someone who might be paying more is like you're inconsistent with with what you say or something like that. So
mhm,
sometimes your free offering can be what you're doing in exchange for a testimonial, a video testimonial in which you specifically like do an interview asking the questions to help to convert the audience. And then you start using that on the regular to bring people in to start paying. And then he said to have like price tiers until you're to a point where you have as many clients as you want, and then you can charge whatever you want. But you really now in this market have to prove yourself. Whereas back in the day, it was almost like clients had to prove themselves.
mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point, and it also made me think of that you can use that as part of your market research as well because you're like testing what's working and what's really resonating. And if you're doing it with the focusing on getting the testimonials, then you can see like, oh, people were really picking with this with my free offer with the small bit, maybe I'll make a bigger course on that. Maybe that's where I focus rather than trying to make a bigger course and then attaching a freebie to it and then driving people in, but maybe you just didn't quite like land that problem quite right or the way you're solving it quite right, and then you've spent like way more effort on this bigger thing, and then it gets all stressful because then rah, 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 rah. Cool. Just to wrap up, I wanted to ask you for anyone that's like a new teacher, or maybe they've been a teacher for a while and they don't have any kind of free offer yet, at what stage in your business do you think you should start implementing creating a free lead magnet and growing your email list?
Like, I'm going to quote Tony Robbins again, "The time is now." Like, the time is always now. Honestly, now. As if you've already been in business for quite some time, then I think you will already know, like, what people are struggling with that you work with, like, what keeps coming up, like you were saying. Even if you've been teaching for a long time and people come and ask you questions after class, what's kind of the theme that people are asking you? Like, I used to get a lot I would break down poses. So I get a lot of questions about, like, how to do poses properly. So then I started creating workshops for asana labs and then selling those kind of on the side, and then I would promote those within my yoga classes. So really, if you've been in business long enough, then you know what it is that your clients are struggling with. Create something now that will help them. Not solve every problem in the world, or maybe do, that's great too. That's awesome because I think our bank accounts really show us what difference or what service we are in this world, and we should never be afraid of offering as much as we possibly can, to be honest, because I think that then there's reciprocation that happens from that. But really, find out what it is that your people are struggling with and create something now. Create something November 26th to the 28th. Because we'll help you, like, get it done now instead of working on it for 3 months. This doesn't have to be, like, life expanding and changing. It literally can be a call that people have with you. So it doesn't have to be, like, really complicated, a 68-page PDF that solves, transformation and all of that kind of stuff, but really helps to get on the path. And here's some things that I do every day that help me to feel better, like have a gratefulness list or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what's good for next week is if anyone has been like, I don't have time, or just overwhelmed by the idea of creating it, or just doesn't know where to start, then we're going to be nailing down your niche. You're going to be working with people a lot with that in day one. So you'll have a clear idea of like what you need to create. We're going to be doing market research as well on day one. So you understand your client and have a better idea of what something might solve their problems. And then what will you be covering on day two?
Is like creating the
Yeah.
resource, right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at breaking all of that down, all of the things that we learned on day 1, and then making that into a resource. And then day 3, how to market it, how to put it out there.
Yeah. So who is this challenge perfect for?
I mean, anyone that is wanting to launch a free resource that needs accountability, that doesn't know what they're doing. This fits in any wellness space, I would say, but of course, we're always marketing to yoga teachers.
Yeah. Yes. So if that sounds like you, there'll be links in the show notes, or you can just go to allmatstaken.com and you will find it there, or Friction Yoga, you'll find it with Colynn as well. So we'll have it everywhere. If you're on either of our email lists already, you will be getting an email, so you can just click that link. So anywhere, we're looking forward to joining you and creating your freebie and watching your business skyrocket.
No matter
Awesome.
the size of your following.
Thank you so much, Colin, and I'll talk to you a little bit later, and we'll see everyone next week in the challenge.
Great. Thanks, Adrian, for having me once again.